Well, I've been watching a lot of, disaster videos and stuff like that.
Like earthquakes.
And
And this was recorded in Rawlins, Wyoming.
uh, at the end, she makes a plea for people to get ready.
Yellowstone. Maybe it's going to settle down. I don't know. Maybe it's going to explode. I don't know. But if it does go, it's going to be an earth-changing event.
And
And I keep telling everyone with new research that was done by a group of scientists from Switzerland who involved people from Japan and France, who based this brand new research that just came out this year, did this research based on Yellowstone. They now know they do not need a large earthquake event to trigger an explosion of Yellowstone caldera. I'm not fear-mongering. I'm not saying it's going to erupt. I'm saying it's got all the possibilities it could erupt. There is activity that is happening. There's harmonic tremors that are being recorded all the way across the United States. Everyone should always be prepared for any type of disaster. It doesn't matter if it's a tornado, hurricane, earthquake, whatever. Hail, flooding, tsunami. You should always be prepared for a major event. And the people that
when I was a kid growing up, my mom and dad, we lived under the fear of mutually assured destruction, MAD. You nuclear war. So my mom and dad always had a year of goods, of food around somewhere in the house. A year. Before that, my grandma, she grew up in the latter stages. She was born just before the Great Depression, and she grew up in the during a period of time when you had to have, and people did, about 40 acres of land, and they would plow it and plant like the 40-acre gardens. I mean, they were huge. And my grandma would put up thousands of quarts of food, and they had their own little cellar, root cellar they'd call it, usually outside their house, which also doubled as their tornado shelter. Out back of my great grandma and grandpa's house, and this was before anyone knew nothing about nuclear war. They had a root cellar. Now, the reason they stocked up on food like that is because, well, they had to eat through the winter. And in the wintertime, you might have eggs and milk, and everybody had a milk cow. The farmers, all the little farms did, and farmers did. A milk cow and a bull. I remember my great grandparents down here in Oklahoma had a bull, and they would, of course, they would get the milk cow pregnant, and the milk cow would would have a baby. They'd raise that baby up for beef, and in the meantime, they would continue to milk the cow. And they would get their milk and their butter and their buttermilk, and trust me, they just always had a year. In when I was 5 years old, we moved into a house in 1,000 miles north of Oklahoma, Superior, Wisconsin. My dad took a job as an engineer on the lakes, on the Great Lakes, and this house had a pantry in it that, well, it was quite large, relatively speaking. Of course, then in there was the cellar door. In the basement, of course, there was a furnace, and it was an oil burning furnace. But in that pantry, there was room for about a year of food stocks. And then in the cellar was considered, well, they call it a root cellar, but it was a cellar. Basement, where they would hang their onions and put their taters and stuff like people would stock up on potatoes and stuff like that, like you would believe. And they did this because of, well, you know, when you were a pioneer, when you moved somewhere, you brought with you a year's worth of food. And definitely enough so that you could get through the summer, including barrels of salt beef and salt pork and yeah, you can salt beef. You can preserve it that way. It was just phenomenal. In this day where there's supply, the next thing you know, Katrina happens. And those people were not prepared. I mean, they just weren't prepared. And it's because they forgot the lessons of the parents. For some reason, strangely enough, ever since I left home, I've always tried to keep at least 6 months of food around. You know, canned food or whatever. And all the times that I moved, I would continue to restock or stock up. Now, a lot of times when we moved, I would give away that food. Because, well, it was, you know, canned foods are heavy and it was just, you know, better if we just gave it away and restocked where we went. So, going into all of this, you know, here it is. They're looking at Yellowstone, and all of a sudden, 2 oil companies sell out. In Wyoming, and it boils, or Montana, and it boils down to oops. And if you follow Mary Greeley, oftentimes their seismographs or their are well, they say they're, you know, she says that on a regular basis they're turning them off. Maybe she's right. Maybe they are malfunctioning, they just need to be repaired. But you know that there's something wrong when they say, well, you know, they could be registering, you know, animals walking across the park. The seismographs, the sensors are in boreholes 300 feet deep. No animal's going to make a foot stomp that deep. So, yeah, I don't know. I remember when I was a kid, we lived half a mile or mile from these people who were avowed atheists and communists. In particular, the wife was a communist. And of course, she raised her kids up atheists. Now, later on in life, 2 of her sons got saved. I don't know about the other 2. But they were running around thinking that people need to be killed and the human genome has gotten weak and all kinds of stuff. And, you know, I sit here and I watch Alex Jones. Don't know whether he's saying the truth or not, but there are a couple things I do know. You know, they're using herbicides to so they can get a greater harvest of wheat and all that, which makes it cheaper. But from what I understand, the herbicide, of course, remains with the wheat to an extent, and it's causing bowel problems in this country. My sister says, well, I have a gluten sensitivity. You don't have a gluten sensitivity. You're ingesting this wheat that's got herbicides in it, and it's messing up your body. I believe that. I'm one of those that thought, oh, cool, they found a new way to get more wheat out of the fields back in the 80s. And I'm thinking, today I'm thinking, oh, that was a boo-boo on my part. But irregardless, we can sit here and go on and on about all this stuff and that. I'm thinking to myself, why are these people so worried about overpopulation? Well, the reason I'm worried about overpopulation, they just can't control 7.5 billion people. They're just, I guess there just ain't enough of them devils to do it with. So, what are you worried about? If Yellowstone goes off, it's going to depopulate this world by half. I'm almost 100% sure that if it goes off, for sure, billions of people will die of starvation and insanity, the insanity that ensues over something like this happening. We could go on and on. I could find websites that show you how, we're starting to see a whole lot of near misses. And I've seen the one meteor that they reported was 75,000 mile an hour meteor. Freaking awesome, because that's a galactic meteor. That's something that came from our galaxy. And the reason I know this for a fact is because our sun is moving in a circle around the galaxy at 75,000 miles an hour. And so if you got a meteor that's moving at 75,000 miles an hour, it isn't being accelerated by its close approach to our sun, especially if we measure it out around Mars or it's a NEO, which is a near-Earth object, which this was. Yeah. It's an intergalactic. It's a galactic meteor. So, if that freaking particular number doesn't freak you out, then fine. I don't care. Everybody's got to do their own fact checking. If you don't do your own fact checking, how do you know I'm telling you the truth, or how do you know anybody's telling you the truth? It's easy to say, well, I must be a nutburger, or a fearmonger. I'm not fear-mongering. Just stock up on food. At least buy yourself a 5 or 6 gallon bucket of freaking granola. You know what I mean? That's cheap. I think we paid $48 for a 6 gallon bucket of granola. Beans and rice. I had 1,000 pounds of beans and rice while my wife was alive. And the reason I had that much food was, most of it would have been barter material, where I could give a family a bucket of beans and a bucket of rice and tell them, eat wisely. And you'll be able to stretch this out for a while. And, you should just stock up. If you don't want to do that, let's see, where is this? There's a place called My Patriot Supply. Oh, let's see, Googly Moogle. Yeah, everything can be found on Google. My Patriot Supply. Emergency survival food. Laura, she blows. Emergency survival food. You can buy yourself bins, little bins with You know, and that's what we did. We also bought some of these. A year's worth of food, 1,800 servings. Well, that's only for one person, but that's a 2,100 calorie a day diet. I guarantee you that if we end up in a really bad situation, if Yellowstone goes off, you will cut back on your food intake just to make it last. So, you know, other things could happen. We could get invaded. Our government's lost its ever-loving freaking mind. So, yeah, do I recommend My Patriot Supply? Absolutely. I mean, at 1,800, here's low $1,800, 1,800 servings. That's $1 a serving, and you get all kinds of stuff, including minute rice and stuff like that. And of course, they don't have the brand name minute rice in it, but instant white rice, 7 minutes in boiling water, and you got rice. Or you can do like I do. You just pour boiling water on it and let it sit for 7 minutes, and ta-da, instant white rice. I love it. You know, I keep a couple boxes of instant white rice around just because. You know, my favorite food is one of my favorite meals is beef stew with instant white rice. Or I've got these cans of beef with gravy you can buy at Walmart for $4. And I love that over gravy, and throw in a can of green beans, and the next thing you know, man, yummy, absolutely a yummy, 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 yummy. So anyway, yeah, they only let you get in here so long. And we want your email address. Oh, okay, you know, email address. Click. All right. They're cool. They got some other stuff. Alex Pure. I don't know why they say Alex Pro. Gotta have water. You know, find you some water, or figure out how they find water. And how to filter it and purify it. I guarantee you, keep a gallon of bleach around, and I think it's 4 to 8 drops of chlorine bleach in a quart of water will let it sit there. Now, my recommendation is you get yourself a plastic 5-gallon bucket and you fill it up with water. By the way, you can filter the sediments out of the water, and then put the same 4 to 8 drops of chlorine per quart. So that's 32 drops of chlorine per gallon. Or you can just take a dropper and measure it out, figure out how many ounces of bleach you need, and regular unscented chlorine bleach. You don't want lavender flavored water. My sister bought lavender scented bleach because I'm gonna make the basement smell, I don't know, feng shui or something. I don't know what that deal is. You know, aromatherapy. Yeah. So anyway, get yourself ready. It's not that hard. It's not that tough. And it isn't that expensive. And by the way, I don't know if any of you have gone to the grocery store lately, but I went here several months ago. We loaded up on Kool-Aid. What's the deal with Kool-Aid? Kool-Aid is a vitamin C enriched flavored drink mix. The vitamin C is really important. You need vitamin C. I don't care what you say. If you can't get any other vitamins